Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of the Talking Ball podcast, a podcast where Jack and I talk ball. I am your co-host this evening, Keaton, joined by Jack. How's it going, Jack?
Good. I'm glad to be here. Thank you guys for joining us. We're excited to talk some more ball. We appreciate your support. It means a lot that you guys listen, and I hope you guys enjoy this next episode.
Absolutely. So today we have a few things planned. Up first, we have a another game that we came up with today, and it's called the Over/Under Stat Game. Then we have some Twitter questions from you guys that we're going to answer, and then finally we're going to get into a few additional player rankings to build off of our player ranking series that we started on episode 1. So without further ado, let's hop into the Over/Under Stat Game. First, I'll explain the rules of this game. So Jack and I have each prepared seven stats each. Each have to do with a different player and a stat for this upcoming season. We set the lines ourselves, um, and the other person will have the opportunity to choose if they want the over or the under on that stat, which will automatically give us the opposite of what the other player chooses. So, for example, Jack has Shay, and he's going to say, "Oh, Shay over or under 20 points." And obviously, I would go over 20 points. So that would give Jack the under. And then at the end of the season, we will tally who got what right. And so there'll be a winner at the end of the season. So this will be like a season long game that we'll keep track of. And hopefully by the end of the season, I will have 14 points.
Dinner on the loser.
Dinner, dinner on the loser.
Sure, sure.
Boom.
Boom.
Tiebreaker can be
We'll do over under, well, or we'll do a wins prediction for the team, and whoever's closer, that's a tiebreaker.
perfect. Sounds great. So without any more explaining of the rules, Jack, do you want to kick us off for this game?
Sure. I will give you my first stat and we'll hear your thoughts and answer on it. With my stats, I kind of tried to think about like something that is actually interesting to think about specific to each player instead of just like random rebounds, points, whatever, just without putting much thought into it. So these are actually questions I have going into the season, and I think it'll be interesting to keep up with each of these things as we go. Some of them are kind of fun, but um, we'll start off with Kenrich Williams. Um, he's kind of in an interesting spot just because he's been a solid piece of the rotation the past few years, but then it was interesting to see that we kind of moved away from him in the playoffs in terms of the rotation. So, and now we have even more depth. So it's going to be interesting to see um, what his role looks like, if he's even a consistent part of the rotation, on a night to night basis. So, with him, the stat I came up with is over under 15 and a half loose balls recovered. Um,
Wow.
yeah, I know with Kenny, we call him Kenny Hustle. Um, He had 24 loose balls recovered last season. So, with a potentially decreased role, I felt 15 and a half could be an interesting line.
Do you have the stat on how many loose balls he recovered the season before?
I could not find that,
So 15 and a half.
but I can try to find it more if you'd like me to.
No, I think this is fine. I'm gonna take Kenny's under 15 and a half.
Okay.
Oh, and let's clarify something for this game. If somebody gets traded at the deadline, we're just continuing their stats for the season, even on off of the Thunder, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Sound.
I have his previous season number if you'd like.
Yeah, what's that at?
Oh, 24 again. So 24 each of the past 2 years. Um, The year before that, he had 36 with the Thunder. So, um, Did you say over or under 15 and
I'll take under 15 and a half just because
a half?
I think what we saw in the playoffs, Kenny's role was severely diminished, and I don't really see him getting um, a significant role next season, honestly.
Good. Yeah. So I got the over there. All right, what's your first one?
My first one is Isaiah Joe, 41.0% from three next year. Um, last season, let me pull this up. Last season, Isaiah Joe shot 41.6 from three. So this would have him falling off by point 0.6. Um, but the previous 3 years in his career, he shot 36.8, 33.3, and 40.9. So 41.0% still would be the second best shooting year that he's had in the NBA.
Okay. Um, I think I'm gonna go over here. Um, I like I mean I think he'll kind of have less volume a little bit just because we have even more weapons, especially from three. I think other guys we have will hopefully take more. And I don't really see Joe slowing down when it comes to 3-point shooting, especially with being in the lab with Chip. So I'll take that over 41.
All right, you've got the over 41.0% from three. Let's hear your next one.
All right, next up, kind of similar. I have Caruso over under 100 threes made. Um, I'll give you a little context here. Last year with the Bulls, he made 136. That's his career high. His previous career high was 55, though. So
Oh,
136 last year, previous career high 55. But I have some context on his games played just to kind of explain why he had such a jump. Last year he started 57 games and played in 71. Um, his previous career high for games played in his career was 67 in a season, and his most starts before last year was 36. So that kind of explains his big jump there. And obviously, he won't have as big of a role with us as he did with the Bulls just because we have so many offensive threats. But I felt it 100 was still a good line because many project him to be a consistent starter like he was last year when he made such an increased number of shot three pointers. Um, a little more context, our team leader last year was Dort with 156 threes made. So what do you think on that? Over under 100?
I like it. I like the line. I think I'm going to go over. I'm going
Okay.
to have faith in Alex to step into the role. I mean, he's just got to make a little over 1 3 per game at that rate. I like the over.
Okay. And I guess now that I think about it, I'll make that 100.5 just so we can have a clear winner on that one. So do you want to
So
stick with the over even though it's 100.5 instead of 100?
I'm sticking with it.
All right. All
Oh, and just to clarify, if any of these numbers are ever a tie, the tie will go to the person that makes the line, since it's pretty impressive to make the line and get that right on. So next up
right.
for on my end, I've got Dylan Jones over or under 25 and a half games played for the Thunder.
Okay.
There's really no context um, here. This was kind of just a shot in the dark for me, honestly. If you look at rookies last season, like Kaysen stepped in and immediately had a huge role, played 82 games. I think Dylan Jones will be a little bit different. I think this team is more veteran than last year's team for sure, and it'll be harder for Dylan Jones to immediately step into a role like Kaysen did. So that's why I set the over under so low. But yes, over under 25 and a half games Dylan Jones will appear in for the Thunder.
That feels like a good line. I think I'll spend a decent amount of time with the blue, but also the Thunder are a team that likes to give guys a chance to see what they look like. Um, with the up with the Thunder also. Let me look something up real quick. I'm wondering how many games Ousmane Dieng played last year. Okay, he played in 23. Because I think we may try out Jones a similar way we've tried out Jang with these competitive teams. Um, I'm gonna go over 25 and a half.
All right. All
Okay.
right. Let's get your next one.
Okay, next up we have Usman Jang. Speaking of him. Um, and I just my it was simple. Do you think Usman Jang will be on our team longer or shorter than through February 6th, which is the trade deadline
And my birthday.
and your birthday?
Will Usman make it past my birthday?
Yes.
Oh. Okay. I think he is definitely a candidate to be traded at the deadline, which makes this a great over-under. Um, I'm essentially betting if he's going to be traded on the deadline. Um, Let me think about his contract situation. He'll be due an extension this summer, uh, next summer, 2025. He'll be due an extension on his rookie scale deal. Um, I don't necessarily see it in the cards, the Thunder offering that um extension right now. I guess I'm maybe not seeing the vision. So I do find it realistic that he will be traded at the deadline, but I just don't really know if there's that big of a market out there for Oos at the
I heard
deadline.
the Charlotte Hornets like our leftovers.
That's true. The Charlotte Hornets might offer cash for him, and we might take that too. Uh, I'm gonna go with the over. I'm gonna have faith that he's on the team past the deadline.
All right. What's your next one?
So I have the other rookie, AJ Mitchell, and I have over or under 40 and a half points scored
Wow. Okay.
season. 40 and a half points. Um, Again, this is kind of just a random line. Um, where I'm just using context of what other players scored for us. Like I think his role is going to be, I mean, obviously he's going to spend a lot of time with the blue being on a two-way. Um, Players that spent time with the blue last season, um, like Keontae scored 11 points all last season. Poku scored 12. Lindy scored 137. Olivier Sarr scored 34. So I set this line at 40 and a half, which is above all of those. Um,
Except Wendy.
I do think that AJ is going to get some thunder burn in some blowouts this season, and I think he's capable of passing that mark, but we'll see what you think.
That is a good line. I mean, I could really see this going either way. Um, we really liked AJ Mitchell as a prospect, which we made evident by making like 4 trades in a day to get him. Um, but then again, I just think this year, especially, he's going to spend a lot of time down with the blue. So I just don't think he'll get a lot of time up with the Thunder. And when he is on the active roster, he'd only play if the game's pretty well decided, I have a feeling. Um, so my immediate thought is he'll have a bit of a Keontae Adam Flagler role. Um, so I think I'm going to go with the under here.
They're perfect.
But the Thunder can surprise me with wanting to give this guy more of a chance with the Thunder, but we'll see. Are you ready for the next one?
Ready.
All right, I have Lou Dort. And my stat for him is over under 49 and a half all defensive team votes. Okay.
Okay.
So
How many do you have this year?
for context, he had 34 this past year. Um, 36 would have gotten him on the second team. So he was 2 votes away from that second team, and 151 would have gotten him on the first team. Um, so that 49 and a half line would land him somewhere in the middle of the second teamers um, from this last season. So what do you think about that one?
Would you read me again the over under?
49 and a half. And last year he had 34.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the under here. I
Ooh.
think my reasoning is I think with defensive weapons like Caruso coming in, even Hartenstein, and then Cason Wallace getting an even larger role next season, I think Lou Dort will be right around the same kind of um, defensive um, presence as last season. Like I don't necessarily see him getting much more recognition that I do
I,
think he deserves.
I love getting the over here. I disagree with you because, I mean, I feel like this award is a very narrative driven award um, because there's only so much you can do to actually measure who deserves these things. Um, And so they're always about a year or two behind when it comes to the voting compared to what's happening in reality. And so I think he's deserved it at least once over the past few years. Um,
Yeah, I agree with that.
but he didn't have the narrative behind him. But after he was on the national stage during the playoffs this year of um, being one of the best defenders we saw, and the world got to see that, and he single-handedly has tanked everyone's view of Brandon Ingram as a basketball player. And he did all he could do to slow Luka down, which not many could do that at all.
Right.
Um, I think the narrative will be in his favor when voting comes around next year.
I'll definitely be a happy guy if that's the case, even if I've got to buy you dinner because of it.
All right, what do you
Let's
got?
see. I got Cason Wallace up next,
Yep.
and I, on a similar defensive note, have his steals per game at over or under 1.1. For context, last year, his rookie season, he played in all 82 games. He started in 13 of those, and he got 0.9 steals per game. I think his minutes are going to go up. I think um, he's only going to get better defensively. And so that's why I nudged his steals per game up the 0.2% or zero point 0.2, I mean, to get to 1.1 steals per game. What do you think about that?
I think it's a good line. I'm gonna go with the under here. Similar to your argument about Dort. I just think that there are only so many steals to go around here. And while I think he will be an improved defender with more minutes and more of a role, I think that the numbers just won't get that high just because you have Shea who led the league in steals last year. You're adding Caruso, who gets his fair share of steals. I think Hartenstein averaged one last year. hopefully guys like J-Dub and Shed improve even more defensively, and you still have Dort. So like, I just don't like. There's only so many steals a team can get, and but I'd love for him to prove me wrong. But I'm going to go with the under.
All right.
Next up I have Shea. I just went 29.7 points per game. Um, I'll walk you through his averages throughout his career. So this past year he had 30.1. The year before 31.4, 24.5, 23.7, 19, 10.8. So I mean, most important is that 30.1 last year and 31.4 the year before. Um, so he jumped up to 31.4 and then went down a little to 30.1 because he's sharing the ball a little more with improved um like role players around him, and even stars around him. And so do you think he'll be under or over 29.7?
I'm going to take the under here, and for kind of the same reasoning behind your case and Steele's argument is I think Ash Shea is getting more help on the team. Um, I think there's only so many points to go around. I think J-Dub and Chet's improvement will reflect in their points per game. I think adding Hartenstein is big. I think adding Caruso is big. I think Shea's assists will go up for sure. I think he's going to have an amazing season, MVP level season again, but I do see his uh the chance for his points per game to go down just a tad below that line. So I will go with the under on that one.
Okay.
All right. Next, I have Aaron Wiggins, and I have over or under 18 and a half minutes per game.
Yeah.
Um, Last season he played 15.7 minutes per game. He's coming off of a big extension this offseason, but over his 3 years in Oklahoma City, his minutes per game have declined significantly each year. He started out his rookie season playing 24.2 minutes per game. Then the season before last played 18 and a half minutes per game. Then last season, 15.7 minutes per game. So I have this over under set to what he was averaging the season before last at 18.5. Um, yeah, what do you think about that line?
I'm gonna go with the under here. We've seen, like you said, his minutes go down each year, even though he's become a better player each year. And that's just because our team's gotten better each year and there's less minutes to go around. And so I think even like this year, we have even more guys that we just have to give minutes to. And so even though he is a big part of our team and like we showed with the extension and we want him to have a role, I don't know if we have enough minutes to go around for him to get up to that mark. So I'm going to go with the under.
All right.
But these are good problems to have when we when we're taking the unders on
Very true.
things like this that we know Wiggins deserves these minutes. We know Kaysen is capable of the steals, but like we just have a lot of mouths to feed and well, only so many stats and only so many minutes can go around, and we're kind of stacked. So,
Yeah.
next up we have Isaiah Hartenstein. Um, over under 2 stocks per game. Um, so he had 2.3 last year, which was his career high.
What do you have the year before that?
I can pull that up. Year before last year, he had 1.4.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the under here. Um, yeah, I just think that he got like with the injuries last season to Mitchell Robinson and he was just kind of able to step in and Julius Randle too. He was able to step into that uh elevated role in New York and just really get kind of unlimited opportunity at that center spot. And I think here he's going to take a little bit lesser of a role, and I think that'll reflect in less stocks.
Okay.
Okay. Next, I have J Dub over or under 20.5 points per game. Like we've talked about, he's on a trajectory to keep improving. Last season, he scored 19.1 points per game, and his rookie season, he scored 14.1 per game. So he improved by 5 points from his rookie season to last season. He's fourth in most improved player last year. So I have his points per game not really even increasing by that much, just to 20.5 from 19.1. What do you think about that?
I'm going to take the over here. I think he takes another leap. I think the team's set up even more so for him to be successful with even better complementary players around him that he can feed off of and um, run two-man games with Hartenstein or something like that. And um, I think in those moments when Shea's on the bench and he's the primary ball handler, he'll um, be even more successful coming back after another off season of improving skill work and things like that. And so I think everything's kind of set up for him to be successful and have a big year. And we've seen the work ethic he has to come back even better. And I have no doubt that he can make an even bigger leap this year.
I like it.
All right, my last one here I have for you is Chet. Um, it's a little interesting one. I did over under 20% of his minutes played at power forward, according to Basketball Reference. And so they log um, like the percentage of minutes that each player plays at each position. And so um, last year it says he played 0% of his minutes at power forward. I guess in the rare times he was on the court with Jay Will. I guess maybe they just said Jay Will was the power forward. But I think this year, if he's on, he plays a good amount of time with Hartenstein. Um, a lot of people would consider Chet the power forward in that situation, and so I just want to see what you think on over under 20% of his minutes at the four.
I'm going under, and I'm gonna go, I think it's gonna be well under. My reasoning for that would be when I think about 20%, like I think Chet, like let's see how many minutes per game he averaged last season. Um, I've got it right here, about 30. So like I think uh to get to 20%, he would have to play 6 minutes on the court with Hartenstein. Um, I don't necessarily see that happening. Now, I also am going into this season not really thinking that Hartenstein is starting. If he's in the starting lineup, then I think absolutely it's going to be over 20%. Um, I'm going in figuring that Caruso might be there or somebody else, but I think that Chet and Hartenstein are going to be kind of each other's shadow a little bit in and out of the bench. But um yeah, so I think I'm definitely going to be wrong if Hartenstein's in the starting lineup. If Hartenstein is coming off the bench, I don't see it being 20%. Now, for my last one, I have J Will. I have over or under 36.0, or I guess I'll make it 36.5. So we have a definite winner on that. Free throws attempted.
Okay.
Um, so last year, J Will attempted 41 free throws. Um, the season before that, he had a little bit larger of a role. He attempted 54 free throws. This season, he'll have a smaller role with Hartenstein joining the team. So I have it set at 36 and a half free throws attempted for Jay Will. What do you think?
I'm gonna go with the under here just because I think it will be hard to find him consistent minutes. Um, so a lot of those. totals stats will go down. I'd like to see him play with Hartenstein or with Chad at times, depending on our matchups. Depending on, I mean, he'll get some run if we ever rest one of them or one of them's dealing with an injury or something like that. But I just don't think his role will be as consistent as it has been in years past. So I think numbers like this will kind of take a hit.
All right. So that concludes our over under stat game. Jack, do you want to start recapping kind of what I chose on your over unders?
Yeah. So we had Kenrich Williams, 15 and a half loose balls recovered. Keaton took the under. So I have the over there. We had Alex Caruso, 100.5 3-pointers made. Keaton took the over. So I have the under. Keaton thinks Ousmane Dieng will be on our team past the trade of that deadline, and I am betting that he will not be. Keaton said that Lou Dort will be under 49 and a half all defensive team votes. Um, and he said that Shea will be under 29.7 points per game. He also bet the under on Hartenstein 2 stocks per game, and he got the over on, or no, you bet the under on Chet's 20% minutes at power forward. Yes. So I have the over on that
All right. And Jack took the over Isaiah Joe 41.0% from three. Jack also took the over Dylan Jones 25.5 games played. Jack took the under on AJ Mitchell 40.5 points this upcoming season. He also took the under Cason Wallace 1.1 steals per game. He took the under Aaron Wiggins 18.5 minutes per game. He took the over J-Dub 20.5 points per game. And he took the under J Will 36.5 free throws attempted. So that concludes our over under stat game. Let's move on. We've got a few Twitter questions from our listeners, aka our friends.
one. Thank you for everyone who submitted a question today. We'll be looking for more in the future, so please keep those coming. We appreciated those. So our first one was from Graham Robinson. Shout out Graham. He's a good dude. He said, if you were to bring back one past Thunder player to replace a current starter, who would it be and who would you replace? You wanna share your thoughts on that one first?
Love this question. First of all, let's establish for this question, let's establish who we're assuming to be in the starting lineup. Um,
That's up to you. Maybe.
okay, okay. I'll say Shea for sure. J-Dub, Chet, Caruso, Dort. That's who I'm considering in the starting lineup when I consider this question. I personally, I would choose Serge Ibaka um, in his prime to plug in for uh, Caruso, and I would bump J-Dub up to the three. So I would run Shea, Dort, J-Dub, Prime Ibaka, and Chet. And I think that's a nasty, nasty first of all, it's a nasty defensive lineup. It would also spread the floor tremendously. Ibaka was a great spot up shooter. Had a little bit of a three ball, but obviously his rim protection was out of this world, and him and Chet would be outrageous together. What do you think?
I mean, I love that answer. I think ideally, if like anytime I think about one dream player to add to the team, or like any like a type of archetype to add to the team, it would be a power forward, big, can stretch the floor, can defend, and then so that we can move Jade up to the three, and then leave Caruso or Dort at the two. So, I mean, I love that answer. I guess just to be different, I'll just say kind of an obvious answer and go with Kevin Durant.
Yeah, I'd say
Um,
pretty good.
I think that would be a good lineup. If you have prime Kevin Durant there, MVP 2014 Kevin Durant, um, he could play the four, especially in today's NBA. Sliding the other guys up to the two and the three. I don't even know if I need to sell him, but it would
Yeah.
just be great to have one of the best scorers of all time, no matter how you feel about him. Great shooter, great size, and back then he was defending and at an elite level as well. So,
So in that case, are you replacing Caruso with Durant?
um, I'll move. I'll keep Caruso, replace Dort. I think Caruso would be nice to have, just instead of Dort, just as like a low volume, can knock down a shot when you need it, and also point of attack defender. That's kind of the perfect role player to have with those other four, I believe. So,
Yeah, I like it. On top of that question, listener Catch adds on. He says, if you can add one former role player to the current squad, who would it be, and what role would you envision for them? I'll let you take this one first.
okay, that's a good question. Shout out Catch. Um, one role player. I should have thought about this before. Do you have one off the top of your mind?
I don't. I'll have to think.
Okay. While you're thinking, I'm gonna. I have a guy in mind, but I just want to make sure I'm not forgetting anyone obvious that could be a better choice. Um, I mean, like, is Serge Ibaka a role player?
That's what I was also thinking. I think by definition, yeah. I think he wasn't ever the guy. He just kind of knew his role and played it well.
Right. Let's just say he's not a role player for the sake of this, just because he was the answer to our last question.
Yeah, I think I
But
picked one.
okay, go for it.
Uh, this is probably a little bit unexpected of one, but I think and I've said this to you in the past, but I think I would add Dennis Schroeder. Um, just because I think one thing that this team really lacks is somebody to come in off the bench and be able to facilitate and have the ball in their hands and create a shot for himself. And Dennis Schroeder was always one of my favorite role players for us because I felt like he could always get to that elbow fade jumper, or he was even really good on inbounds plays, um, and just moving the ball in general. And so I think for this team currently, he would play a really good role. But without adding him, I think the player that currently to most likely step into that role is probably Cason Wallace, getting better with the ball in his hands, just kind of improving. He's really young and he's shown flashes of that his rookie season. But I think that that's one of the biggest questions to be answered this season is who, when Shea's off the court, can create for themselves.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I'm gonna go with Al Horford. Um, he was great for us in his very limited time. That was kind of a weird time because we wanted to lose, but also we had Al Horford, and so, but he handled it great. He was very professional about it, and now obviously he's doing great things with the Celtics. He's kind of just the perfect role player for them, defending still at a high level for his age, and can knock down a shot, add some size, like decent playmaker for his size, and so. I think just having another guy like that on the team can never hurt and would be kind of perfect to plug in some of those bigger lineups.
Love it. And
Okay,
we'd probably let him play the whole season,
right.
not
We
shut
wouldn't
him
shut him
down.
down. Yeah. Um, our next question is from Will Aiken. Um, Will's a good dude as well. Um, he says, if you could bring back an alternate jersey from years past, which would you choose? That's a good question, Will. Um,
That is a
I
good question.
my first thought is the one from a long time ago, the Navy swingman jersey,
Straight down.
under down the side. Now, it's not the flashiest, it's not the most modern looking, but it's a good one. And I think if we put a modern touch on it, it has the potential to kind of be great in today's team as well. Um, so that'd be my answer, I believe. I love that jersey. I had one. So what would you say?
Yeah, I like that jersey too, and I still play with it on 2K every once in a while, and so seeing the new players in that jersey, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
For me, I really was a big fan of the Oklahoma City bombing memorial jerseys, Chris Paul season.
Yeah.
I thought those were awesome. They had good meaning, and they were just flat out sexy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I was at the first game that they wore those, which was in Russell Westbrook's return game
Hmm.
against the Rockets when Chris Paul megged Hartenstein.
Everything comes full circle, doesn't it?
Yep, that was the first. That was the debut of the bombing um, jerseys. But yeah, those jerseys were really special. Um,
Honorable mention to the teal Native American jerseys. Shout out those jerseys. Those will look great today also.
yeah, I feel like a modern touch on those would be nice.
Yeah. Fun fact, our friend Cole Crockett has a Shea teal Native American jersey, which is interesting because Shea never wore that jersey, but it's kind of cool.
Yeah,
But maybe,
that could be one of the only ones in existence.
yeah. So, do you have our final question?
Yeah, I have two more.
Two more? Okay.
If you listener Tucker Voiles says, shout out Tucker. If you had to live on an island with one Thunder player and you need them for survival instinct, who would you pick?
That is a good question. Um, Thank you, Tucker. I think I would pick Kenrich Williams. He seems like a responsible guy. I think he would keep his cool in a survival situation. I think he has the brains to be able to figure out what needs to be done, and he's mature and he's an older guy, so he has some experience having to deal with real world problems. And I think he would be helpful in that situation to have around.
I'm 100% going Dort. Um, and like I think he's a really tough guy in general, so that would be a valuable asset to have on a island. But second of all, did you see how fast Dort came to Shea's defense in the Canada game in the Olympics?
Mhm.
You need that guy by your side. If like an animal's coming out of the woods and it's like, "Ah," and then Dort's just
Right, right.
like Dort will put his hand on the Jaguar's chest and just go,
Are you taking Dort in a fight with the Jaguar if they like both are mad and wanna beat each other up, or who are you taking there?
I'm going Dort.
Okay.
He's scrappy. He's got more all defensive team votes.
But you still think he won't get 50 next year?
Yeah, under 50, but he's beating a Jaguar.
That's
Uh,
fair.
last question is from my girlfriend.
Okay.
Uh, she asks, Sydney asks, if we had to pick one, we could only pick one. Would we pick getting acquiring Caruso in the Giddy trade, or getting Hartenstein in free agency. And so if you choose one, the other one did not happen. And so if we choose acquiring Caruso, then you don't get Hartenstein. You still have the cap room, but you're not going to sign Hartenstein. Um, if you choose Hartenstein, you don't have Caruso and you still have Giddey to trade.
Okay, that was a great question. Lots of great questions today. Keep them coming. So, when I think about this question, I think the benefits that Caruso and Hartenstein bring are pretty equally going to be beneficial for us. And so that makes it hard to choose when it comes to their skill set, when it comes to how they allow our team to play. Um, but I think love Giddey. Love Giddey. Great guy. Love Giddey. Always will support him, always have. But I think not having Giddey on our team and needing to give him a decent role is a very good thing for this team. And I think that's why I'm going to choose that trade. We're going to keep that trade. We're going to have Hardens or we're going to have Caruso. I think not having Giddey just allows us to play like it takes away so many limitations when it comes to how we play. Um, because when we had Giddey on the court last year, so many teams just matched up their center on him, which completely clogged up our offense, really restricted us on how we were able to run offense. Um, he was often left open in the corners and wasn't very consistent on those threes. Um, and he didn't really make up for it on defense either. And so I think he's a great player. We just couldn't give him the role that he needs to be able to be very successful in this league. And hopefully the Bulls can do that more for him. I just think I would choose that for that reason because I'm just excited to see what our team looks like when we don't have to be limited by a player that needs that specific type of role that we can't really give him.
Yeah, I totally get that reasoning. On the other hand, am going to go the opposite route, and I'm going to say I would choose uh, getting Hartenstein in free agency and not have traded for Caruso because I think Hartenstein, first of all, is the biggest free agent that we've ever signed, and he's addressing a super need, which is size for this team. And on the other hand, I think still having Giddey on the books isn't awesome, but I think you still could look for a trade. I don't think that you're finding a trade as good as getting Caruso. Like I think that that was probably the best trade that Sam Presti could have made. Um, but I think Giddey still is a valuable player because we both know like the fit wasn't the best, but he still has a lot to offer a team. And he's still super young. So I think going ahead and just getting Hartenstein in free agency and then finding the next best trade for Giddey is probably the route that I would go. But under no circumstance would I want to enter next season with Giddey still on this team, just because the fit just wasn't right. So the awesome thing about this question is we'll I guess we'll never know because we do get both Hartenstein and Crusoe. So I think that that's an awesome reality that we get to wake up to.
Right. And not like I touched on, like only am I so excited for all the things that Caruso and Hartenstein are going to bring to our team, but I'm so excited for not having all the negative impacts that the Giddy lineups brought for us and not having as many of the negative impacts that the non-Chet lineups brought for our ratings. Because when Chet wasn't on the court, we struggled, especially defensively. And I think Hartenstein will eliminate a lot of that. And when Giddey was on the court, we struggled offensively and defensively. And having Caruso, a guy that um, defenses they'll have to respect in the corners, and they can't just match up their centers on them. We'll be able to run offense, and is one of the best defenders in the league. Like I'm just so excited for all that they'll bring and all of the different ways we can play with our new roster.
Absolutely. Like I think this next season is a recipe for success when you look at addressing our big man size, addressing um, the unfortunate not great fit that we had last season with Giddy, like adding a player like Caruso, the entire roster having playoff experience, and coming back just a little bit older and a little bit better and a little bit just more mature. Like everything is just setting up for an absolute awesome season that we're so excited about. So
Right. That's why I'm excited so much about next season. It's like we won 57 games with all these things. We won 57 games with having to deal with all these defensive struggles when Chet wasn't on the court and having to deal with these negative ratings when Giddy was on the court and when we didn't have Caruso and Hartenstein, two of the best role players and complementary players in the league, and that fit very well with the stars we have. So like the sky's the limit, and I'm excited. So
I'm
um
too. Well, thank you for your Twitter questions. We really enjoyed being able to answer some of those. We'll definitely send out more tweets for more opportunities to tweet us some questions to keep some conversations going. Finally, for today's podcast, let's move on to some Thunder player rankings. Um, Jack, do you have
yeah.
those?
Yes, I'm gonna share my screen here. Um we're gonna continue what we started yesterday or whenever the last episode was. Um can you see that there?
Perfect. I can see it.
Okay. We're gonna move down here. Okay. And we're gonna just focus on a few guys today, so we're not gonna spend nearly as much time today, but um we want to knock out a few more of these rankings, and then we'll go from there. So, if you missed our last episode, we are going through all the Thunder players we've had and ranking them on a scale of 1 to 10 on 5 different categories. Those are stats, impact on winning, personal opinion, longevity, and culture. And then we'll average them all together, and they'll have an average score between 1 and 10. And then finally, when we're done, we'll have a complete list of the best Thunder players to worst Thunder players of all time. So yesterday we covered everyone that played for the team in the 2023-2024 season. So that was 22 guys. And today we're gonna just go over the 5 guys that played in the 2022-2023 season that did not play for the team last season. So um, we're gonna kick it off with Jared Butler. um, let me actually let me get this down here. We'll need this. So, um, Jared Butler just played that 1 year with us. He played in 6 games, 77 minutes, almost 13 minutes a game, 6 points, almost a rebound, a little over an assist, almost a steal, 47 from the field, 50 from three. So based on those numbers, I mean, they're not terrible numbers, but I mean, he just did it in 6 games where likely games were pretty well decided when he was in. Um, but I mean, I'll give those stats a 3 out of 10.
Uh, can I ask right off the bat to bump that down a little bit? I just don't think in the grand scheme of player stats that's worthy of a three.
You like two better?
Yeah, I like two better. Impact on winning, I'm gonna go 1.5. I don't think Jared Butler really had any sort of impact on winning.
Okay. Personal opinion, I mean, seemed like a good dude. I don't really remember a whole lot about him personally. I appreciated him. I hope he's doing well with the Wizards. Um, Baylor guy, national champion.
Right.
Uh, Gotta respect that. Love Big 12 guys. I'm just gonna give him a 3.5.
I remember I thought he was like the steal of the draft coming out of Baylor, and he fell all the way to the Hawks, I think. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, the Hawks are about to run the league. Boy, have they. All right, longevity, Jared Butler, six games played. That's worthy of a one.
Yeah. Then culture, I mean, I don't know.
He's a good guy, right?
I think he was good, but I don't think he was around long enough to really um, be much a part of the brotherhood aspect of things. But I don't think he was a negative impact by any means. So I'll give him a 4.
Does that make him the worst Thunder player of all time?
Yes.
So, sorry, Jared.
Jared.
All
Um,
right, Eugene.
Eugene just played that one season as well. 23 games. He averaged 12 minutes, 5 points, 2.5 rebounds, half an assist, half a steal. Shot 47 from the field, 26 from three. What do you want to give those stats?
Uh, I think Eugene probably deserves a 2.5 on stats. His stats were lackluster, but um, not horrible.
Okay.
Yes.
And then impact on winning. I mean, I remember for part of that season, he played in the rotation at times. Um, so it wasn't just bring him in when we're up 40 or anything like that. Um, but I don't know if he swayed games too much. So I'll give him a 3.
Personal opinion, I really like Eugene. I thought he had kind of a unique play style that I couldn't really compare. Like I couldn't really find a good comparison to Eugene on the court. He's kind of in a category of his own. Um, I think that now that I think about this, didn't he have braces?
He might have. I don't
Because
remember.
because on episode one, I said that Micic was the only braces guy, and then I think Eugene may have had a stretch of braces. This is beside the point, and I don't know why braces has anything to do with my personal opinion on these players, but overall, my personal opinion of Eugene is probably like a 6.
Yeah,
I like Eugene.
me too. Yeah, and then longevity, I mean, we'll give him a little higher rating than Jared Butler. Just he played 23 games, but he still was only here less than that season. So I'll give him a 2.5.
Yeah. Culture. Eugene actually was really good for the culture, I feel like, because in his short period that he was there, he made a lot of friendships. He seemed to fit in pretty nicely. When we met up with Detroit this past season, the whole team found him after the game and he was took a picture with the team. I thought that was pretty neat. Um, or that might have been the end of the 2023 season when that happened. That was after J-Dub's game winner against
Yeah.
Detroit. But overall, I think for the culture, he was probably another 6.
Okay. All right, that brings him to a 4 total. Next up, we have Dario Saric. He is also only on the team for that 1 year. We got him at the trade deadline. He played 20 games. He actually was a part of the rotation when we were making a play-in push, and in those play-in games, he played 13.7 minutes per game, 7.5 points, a little over 3 rebounds, an assist, 51 and a half from the field, 39 from three. So like that's decent. And I think for these stats, I mean, he was a decent role player for us in those meaningful games. And so, I mean, I'm gonna give him like a 4 here. I mean, he did what we needed him to do.
Yeah, I think I would also agree with. a four being his impact on winning. Like I think he decently impacted winning. Like I think he stepped in and played a solid role for us. And I mean he really shot the ball pretty well.
Oh, we kind of needed a bigger guy off the bench in that stretch that could also stretch the floor. So personal opinion though, I mean, I liked him when he was here. He just wasn't here that long, and I didn't know a whole lot about him off the court. And so, I mean, I don't have a strong opinion either way. So I'm gonna give him a 4.5.
Yeah, longevity, I think 20 games warrants like maybe a two.
Okay. And then culture, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know a lot about him off the court. Um, but he seems to get along with his teammates on every team he goes to. Um, but I mean, he wasn't here very long. I'm going to give him a 3.5. So that gives him a 3.6 rating overall. Next up, we have Jeremiah Robinson Earl. He was with us for 2 seasons. We drafted him in 2021. Um, he played 92 games with us. Um, he played 20.7 minutes per game, 7 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, shot 43 from the field, 34 from three. Um, he started a good amount, especially his first year. So, what do you think about those stats?
Um, like a 3.5 for me. I don't think those stats are anything to write home about.
Yeah. Impact on winning's a little tough because we wanted to lose when he was a big part of our team. Um, so, but I mean, he was a solid player. I wish he wound up being a little better and working out a little better. But I mean, that late in the draft, you're just kind of taking a gamble and seeing what happens. So I'm gonna go with a 3.5 here.
Personal opinion of J Rob, I thought he was a really awesome guy. Um, I was really happy when we drafted him. I thought he filled kind of a role that we like could envision being a part of the team for a while. Um, yeah, good guy. Nothing much more to say about him. Personal opinion, 6.5.
Yeah, and then longevity. I mean, he was with us 2 seasons, but as a guy we drafted, obviously we would have liked for him to be part of our team for a longer amount of time. But he just didn't work out and didn't find a role consistently with the team when we started to be competitive. Um, but he played 92 games. I'll give him a 4.
Culture, I think he was pretty like he fit in pretty well with the young guys. Like he seemed to get along with everybody pretty well, seemed to fit the culture. I'll give him a 7.
Okay. That puts him at a 4.9 total. So we'll move on to our last guy of the day, Darius Baisley. Now we traded for him the night of the 2019 draft. Traded Brandon Clark's draft rights for his. We were excited about him, and he played 4 seasons with us, um, 221 games. So he was with us a while. I mean, he played 24 minutes a game, 9 points, 5.5 rebounds, 41 from the field, and 31 from three. So, um, I mean, those stats they don't look terrible. I mean, we would like for him to have shot better, those percentages. I mean, he averaged a decent amount of points, but he was getting a lot of opportunity to shoot just because he was on some pretty bad teams. Um, he was a decent rebounder, decent defender by the end of his time with us. Would have liked for him to work out a little better. Um, but as far as the stats go, I'll go with a 4.5.
Yeah, he definitely wasn't the most efficient guy. I think there was a time where we could envision him, like I remember envisioning him at one point being part of a big three with Shea, Dort, Bays, uh, which it makes you realize like how awesome we have it right now, where doesn't even have a spot on the roster.
Yeah.
Um, Impact on winning, like you said, he was on some really, really bad teams. And when we started winning, he really didn't have much of an impact, like at all. Um, Very inefficient. I think maybe mirroring J Rob's 3.5 on this would be not a bad call.
Yeah. And then personal opinion, I mean, I liked him a lot. Um, he seemed like an awesome guy. I mean, I wanted him to be successful. Um, Seemed like people liked him. Um, I'll give him a 7 here.
Longevity, 4 seasons. Um,
21 games.
yeah, I mean, can you scroll up and see kind of what our longevity rankings for other people were that have played around 4 seasons? Looks like around a six. But yeah, let's give him a six.
Okay. And then culture, I mean, I'll give him a 6 just because the guys, I mean, he seemed to fit with the guys.
Yeah,
Nothing stood out too much, I guess, but that gives him a 5.4 total.
he's the
So
best player of this awesome batch that we did today.
this was a good match. Um, but if we put those with the rest of our guys up here, then kind of sort them, then we can see where they fell in here. So no one really broke the top 10 so far, it looks like, but Baisley slots in here between Kenrich and Trey Mann. And then JRE between Lindy and Mietzich, a few spots lower. And then Eugene fits comfortably between Poku and Bismack. And then following Bismack, we have Dario Saric right above Usman Zhang. And then way at the bottom, we have Jared.
Sorry.
Sorry, if you're listening, we apologize. But that was fun. We'll continue gradually making it through these um, on future episodes um, until we have our comprehensive list. So, do you have anything else for today's episode?
No, I think that pretty much rounds us out. We really appreciate you listening. We really appreciate you sending in questions. And we hope to keep some good content coming for you soon. Jack, do you have any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, just thank you guys for the support, and we're looking forward to talking more ball in the future. So, continue sharing this with people you know and giving us feedback, and we'd love to hear it. So,
Have a good one.
I will see you next time.